All right. Hi, I'm Kathryn. I'm a compulsive eater, and I weigh and measure 3 meals a day from the gray sheet. I don't eat in between those meals, no matter what. Abstinence is the most important thing. And I apologize. I was having technical difficulties there and tried to log on with my computer, but I guess my network has blocked it, so I'm on my phone. But I am so grateful to be here, and thank you, Jack, for asking me to speak. And I just love service. I truly believe that it helps me to stay abstinent and it helps me to remember my primary purpose, especially when, today food doesn't call to me, thank God, and it's only because of Gray Sheet. But I think that I have to be even more vigilant because I know, when I was really in early days, I was like, it was all I thought about was like making the phone calls and going to meetings and all those things. But now, like, my life is so full and so big, and there's so many things going on, which are all a blessing of this program that I have to remember that this is the most important thing ever. And especially when it's summertime and my kids are out of school and my house is full of people and kids running in and out of the house and all these wonderful things. But I can get distracted very easily. And so, Jack, thank you. This was a great way to stop my day. And my story is that when I came into these rooms about 20 something years ago, after a little over 20 years ago, I've not been absent the whole time, after 6 treatment centers, people telling that my parents to prepare for my funeral because I was never going to make it, that I could not be honest. I was just a mess. I have been extremely underweight. I have been 50 to 60 pounds overweight. I've never been like morbidly obese, but I might as well have been because in my head I was just so consumed. I mean, I could not, all I thought about was food all day long. And I came, I started going to other 12-step rooms for food when I was in high school because I was struggling with, and nothing worked. I remember I went to this therapist and she was like, you're going to draw your feelings and like all this art therapy and things that I'm sure are wonderful. Like my son goes to art therapy, but it's not for food. And I remember he does art therapy, but it helps with like processing stuff. But it did not help me with food. And then I went to like OA and OA How, and I don't remember every diet program under the sun. And 6 treatment centers, and the last one I was locked in, and it was like I was in there for 6 months that time, and got kicked out for binging. I mean, in a treatment center. Um, but the bottom line is that I was obsessed with the food, and the things that we don't eat literally controlled my life. Like from the minute I woke up in the morning, my entire day was thinking about like how I was going to get something, what I was going to get, how I was going to get rid of it. I was like an emotional wreck. I mean, just a train wreck. I was literally a train wreck, and people in the rooms of OA used to call me a train wreck. But I found Gray Sheet, and I was actually introduced to it in London. I was studying abroad there, and I was going to an OA meeting, and a lady spoke and told my story, and I was like, could not believe that somebody could not eat their, compulsively for as long as she did. She was like beautiful. And I talked to her after the meeting. I don't remember if I got her number, but she told me about Gray Sheet. And I was like, that woman is crazy. There's no way I'm doing that. And she wasn't drinking alcohol. And I was like, there's no way. Meanwhile, I'm eating out of a garbage can. So, I mean, like, who's crazy? It was me, not her. But that seed was planted in my compulsive eating got worse from there. And I tried, trying to be anorexic, bulimia. I was a night eater, so I would go to bed and I'd wake up and I would just binge and binge and binge. And people locked the refrigerator doors, they locked cabinet doors, they did all this stuff, and it didn't help. I was spending like thousands and thousands of dollars in credit card debt for food. And so when I found Gray Sheet, my sponsor had moved, who was not my sponsor, from New York to Atlanta. And we met on the little steps of it. I'd moved to Atlanta with my parents, or this little suburb outside of Atlanta. And I found this Gray Sheet meeting. And so I went, and I heard this "we don't eat no matter what" message again. And I think this lady said, if you want what we have, you do what we do type thing. And I wanted what she had. Like, I was like, oh my gosh. She was a single mom at the time. She had just got her driver's license because she was in New York before. She had like traveled the world. She was getting a job. And she did all these things. And I was like, I just like want my own, be able to have my own apartment, like to sign a lease. Like I couldn't even do that and not eat compulsively. And that was when the phone bridge was just starting and there's only like a meeting or 2 or 3 a week. And so I did that. And she said, go to AA meetings. And I did that. And I didn't get abstinent right at first. But I remember I called this lady. I got a sponsor from the phone bridge and I called her and I said, oh, I ate in the middle of the night. And she was like, we don't eat no matter what, and hung up. And I was like, whoa, these people are serious. So I had found another sponsor. This fast forward, it was now this lady that started this meeting. And she was like, you go to AA meetings. If there's not a gray sheet meeting, you go every day. Every day. You make 3 phone calls a day. And I was like, what am I going to say to these people? And she was like, you just call them and say your name and that you're supposed to make your phone calls and people are going to understand. And I was so desperate. And so I did it. And I did everything she said. And I went to AA meetings every day and I got abstinent. And she said, oh, you're not going to date anyone in the first year because you need to get yourself together and you need to work on yourself. And I was like, what? Like, I'm not going to have any kind of like vice or outlet or anything. And she was like, go to roundups in retreats. And so the first year, I think I went to 6 and I met who's my very best friend in the world. Like, I had less than 30 days. She had less than 30 days. And I went to this retreat in Chicago and I had 19 days at the time or something. And I met her and I met all these other gray sheeters. And then I went to the next retreat and my life just like was full of program and AA. And I ended up finishing college and getting a job and, buying a house, which was like a miracle. And ended up getting married and all these great things. But I put other stuff in front of my abstinence. And that's the bottom line. Like I was training for a marathon and I quit going to as many meetings. I quit making as many phone calls. I quit getting enough sleep. That was another thing. I was like not sleeping. And so I was really, really tired and I was really tired. And so what do I want to do when I'm tired? Get some sort of energy or something. So I was just pretty miserable all the time. And that's saying hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. I was like that when I was absent. And after 6 years, I picked up by eating a second breakfast because I had not slept. And I had taken this medication to help me sleep. And I was basically like a maniac. So I went into a blackout with food after 6, like the first time back, and it scared me to death. I literally had to look at receipts to figure out where I had been to eat food. I mean, it's a miracle that I didn't like kill somebody or myself driving around town in a blackout of food. It's 6 a.m., 7 a.m. in the morning. And so I got abstinent again, thank the dear Lord. And on September 5th of this year, I will have been absent since 2009. And since that time, life has, I've gotten a life, and it truly has been beyond my wildest dreams. I did not ever think that I would get married. I got married, but that was just before I picked up. And then we moved around a good bit, and we've traveled all over this world. And I had a job that I traveled 4 days a week, and my husband traveled 5 days a week. And we've been everywhere. My sponsor, people in these rooms were like, you just pack your commitment, you go. And I remember this meeting means a lot to me because I remember the first time that I ever got kicked out of a restaurant for bringing my own food in was in Ireland, of all places. And it happened consistently, like every restaurant I went in on that 7 to 10 days. And this was years ago. At least 12 years ago. And that was my first time of doing that because I've always just like brought in food, weighed my food. I'm just more comfortable. I could care less what people think. And they were like, I'm sorry. It was like health protocol. So we'd have to get up and leave. And I was newly married. My husband, I could tell, was like, what? But he didn't say anything. He is like a great gray sheeter. He knows, like, he tells everyone, he's like, I've seen this world through the eyes of through the grocery store, because I've been to a grocery store in every country that we've ever been in. And it's the truth. That's the first place we go when we land. But so I learned how to do that. And I learned how to, well, obviously date, and I learned how to, weigh measure my food on a business, in business meals and interviews and all these things. But I've had a lot. I feel like life is a no matter what. I mean, it truly is. Like, I don't want to say I've had all these no matter what's, because everybody has them, but there's always a way to stay abstinent. So I didn't think I could get pregnant, and I went through a lot of fertility treatments, and 2 pregnancies that were horrific, where I spent a lot of the time in the hospital and on bed rest, and in doctors every other day, and all this stuff. But you know what? I remember one time we were living in Michigan, and this is why it's so important to have connections. And so I was living in Michigan, and I went for a checkup, and they admitted me to the hospital because something was wrong. My husband was out of town, and we had just moved there, and I didn't have any family, but I had names of GreySheeters, and those GreySheeters brought me food in the hospital for days. And of course my husband flew right back, but I learned then that, like, in my car.
10 down, Kathryn, 10 down, 5 to go.
Thank you. I learned that was a good no matter what, because I learned that in my car, I've got to have backup everywhere I go, because that, and I was pretty good about it then. Like, I just always had scales. And so now, I make sure I have scales in my car, and my carry-on bag that I take on an airplane has scales. My purse has a little scale in it. And because you never know where you're going to be. So, that was one of the times that we were in the hospital, in the hospital or something. And then, since I have 2 boys that are like the most accident prone kids ever. I mean, I guess they're just boys, and they are always, so I haven't stopped them. But when COVID hit, my son broke his jaw, and we were taking my ambulance to the hospital, and nobody was allowed into the hospital. No one. And it was a children's hospital, but I was. So my sponsor came. I was able to explain to my husband and other random people where to get pre-made backup out of my refrigerator, and bring it to the hospital and drop it in the front steps. And the nurses brought it back to me. And I learned, how to order grocery delivery and have it delivered to the front steps of the hospital. And Target delivers groceries, and Uber Eats, and all of these things, that just happen, and we can do that. And so each season of life has taught me, that this has to be my primary purpose, and that I have to stay vigilant, and that, I've got to have, like, food in my car. I've got to have backup for me, like pre-made in my refrigerator, like bags of the sawdust stuff, like already made, and bags of protein and stuff, because if so, my kids, one of them will end up getting hurt or something, and I'll have to run with them somewhere, and people can come and help me. And then I also have to remember that, that this is a gift, and I don't want to take it for granted. And so today I live in the suburb of Atlanta, and we now have this little Gray Sheet community, and it's absolutely amazing. We only meet twice a month, but we meet, and it's phenomenal. And so I also learned that, when COVID hit, that was a big no matter what for me, because I'm a people person. So I had to, like, change the way I did things, and find AA meetings that were meeting outside, and find other GreySheeters that were willing to meet outside, and make lots of phone calls, and do all those things, because I can live in my head, and that's the most dangerous place for me. And I also want to say that working the steps has, like, changed my life. After, of being absent for a while, I worked the steps, and I continue to do them. And today I know that the most important thing I can do is to help another compulsive eater, and that I don't have to live in this craziness of the food. And today I don't have food. It doesn't calm me. It doesn't drive me. My life is not centered around how am I going to get more, how am I going to lie or cheat or steal. It's about, okay, this is what my day looks like. This is the food I'm going to have. These are the times I'm going to eat, or, occasionally. And then how's my life fit into that? Because we are always on the go. Thank you so much. My kids are in activities all over the town, and my husband travels, and I've got a full-time job and all this stuff, but there is always, this has to be the most important thing. So like I have got to plan my day around my meals and when I'm going to be home. And sometimes that means, you know, carrying it with me because soccer practice might run really late tonight, or this Bible study that we're in, something is going to happen, or, you know, I might have to, you know, I try to make as many meals as I possibly can ahead of time when I'm not going to be home, when I'm going to be like running all around town, because it's just easier to have it made. But I'm just so glad to be here. I feel like I've kind of rambled all over the place, but I don't eat no matter what, and I will pass.